Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Conversations with Rob. Please hit the subscribe button and like this video. I have a real special guest, and if you're into politics and you're a TYT watcher, you'll definitely know who this guy is, Richard Ojeda. He's a retired Army major who was a Bronze Star, and he also had 15 other medals while he was in the Army. He also was a Virginia State Senator in Logan County in the 7th District, and a former congressional candidate in 2018, and also a former presidential candidate in 2020. Mr. Ojeda, it's an honor, and before you even say anything, I want to say thank you so much for serving this country for 24 years. I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate that. Actually, just a correction, it's West Virginia, actually.
West Virginia, sorry about that.
And I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to come on here on your show and once again get another opportunity to say what I believe.
Right. So let's start off with your military service. What made you join the military?
I grew up in an area in southern West Virginia where, 30 years ago it was dig coal, sell dope, join the Army. Right. And 30 years later, still right now, dig coal, sell dope, pretty much join the Army. But I chose the military because I had family members that were all coal miners, and I remember the coal strikes. I remember watching a lot of them, struggle. You work for 6 months, and then 6 months of the year you'd be laid off. My uncles all told us they said, whatever you do, don't go into the coal industry. Do something else. And I didn't have I wasn't the greatest of students. I was a small kid, so I always got a lot of fist fights and everything like that. So when I graduated high school, to me the best choice was the military, and I went to the military, and it was a wonderful way of life for me. It really got me straightened up. It gave me the opportunity to earn my bachelor's and master's degrees, so see the world. So the military's been a great thing for me. So, I enjoyed being a soldier. I was enlisted at first for years, then I switched over to the officer side. But it was, that environment where I truly got to understand what real leadership is. And when I say real leadership, I mean leaders that lead from the front. They lead by example. And that's a big reason that led me into politics.
Right. So you were in the military for 24 years. Can you give the viewers any kind of quick, and I know you've seen a lot and done a lot in the military, any kind of quick input about some of your experiences? I know you served in Iraq and Afghanistan as well as other places. I know you were in Haiti, you said, during the earthquake. What was kind of, like I said, you've been in many experiences. What is kind of the experience that kind of left the most mark as being in the military?
Well, I'll tell you, in the military, I was a combat soldier. I was a light airborne sapper. So, you train, and, to us, we consider combat deployments as our Super Bowl. But, I can remember when I was in the 2nd Brigade Combat Team, 325th Airborne Infantry Regiment, 82nd Airborne Division, when we responded to the earthquake that happened in Haiti. And I will tell you that was probably one of my most proudest deployments that I've ever, served in. But it was also one of the worst deployments that I've ever served in, because, you can justify death in a combat zone. It was them or you. But, when you go to a place like Haiti where, between 250 and 400,000 dead bodies are everywhere. And, for months, it's just pure misery where you're trying to help people with food, water, medical supplies. You're trying to clean up the bodies because that, animals are starting to feed off. I mean, it's just, it was the toughest deployment, but it was also one of my best, because I do know that in the beginning we were saving lives.
Right. And I did, my school actually I had a couple of students that was down in Haiti doing some work down there. They actually passed away, died in that earthquake. So that really hits home for me too, as knowing some people that died in that. To keep rolling into foreign policy, you ran for office in 2018, and you've been in office as a state senator in West Virginia. You watch MSNBC, you watch ABC, all the news stations. They say Russia's our biggest geopolitical foe. I think that's a lot of BS, because I think that was trumped up by the Hillary Clinton campaign after they lost an easily won election that they could have won if they did the right things. Do you really believe, and I feel like I know the answer to this, that Russia's our biggest geopolitical foe?
Say again?
Russia's our biggest geopolitical foe?
No, I mean, I think it's they're obviously meddling in our elections, but I think that greed is our biggest foe out there. Political greed, lobbyists, corporations. That's where that's where the worst is really hitting us. They are trying to control everything. They want every single penny for themselves. The top 1% control more money than the bottom 99%. And the bad part about that is the top 1% control 99% of the wealth, and it's just simply not enough for them. They want to have more. And it's the corruption that goes on with them trying to guarantee that they can finally get that more is what's really driving this country off of the cliff. And that's exactly what's happening. I mean, we are in a world of hurt. I mean, I sit here and I look and I think to myself, with the way these people are wanting to put blinders up and not look at the real issues that are going on in this country, I feel sorry for the children that I see today. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, look at McDowell County right in West Virginia. And that used to be a booming county, and now it's one of the poorest counties in the country, and I mean you see that firsthand rather.
You're right, but here's the problem with that though, is that county still votes against their own best interests. That county voted for Don Blankenship. Okay, that county voted for Donald Trump. That county voted against me for Carol Miller. And Carol Miller never set foot down there. I was in McDowell County often.
She didn't want to debate you. She didn't even want to debate.
No, she wouldn't. I'm the guy that basically pressured Joe Manchin into getting a forklift for the food bank in McDowell County that so many people rely upon. And they didn't even support me. So, but the thing is it's people fall for anything. They fall. Sadly, I live in a part of the world where as long as you stand up and say, Trump, then you win. And that's so disheartening because these people's lives aren't any better. I mean, look, coal mines are going bankrupt right now. But that's where we're at. But these people still think that Trump's the second coming of Christ.
Well, let me tell you this, Mr. Ojeda, and I want to know if you believe this. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Bernie Sanders went in there in the Democratic primary. He won almost every county, I believe, every county. All counties, yeah. All counties in West Virginia, and then Hillary's going down to West Virginia during the campaign and saying she's going to cut all the coal jobs. Well, I mean, what is she, a fool? Is she an idiot? And Bernie, I feel like, would have gave Trump a run for his money in West Virginia because people like his message, just like people like your message. You were Trump saying that same message. Trump was just saying the BS, the bullshit.
And what did West Virginia do to Bernie? He won all 55 counties, and they gave it to Hillary. So once again, people in West Virginia that were Bernie supporters were like, really? You stole it from Bernie and gave it to her? Right. So once again, people don't think for 1 second that a lot of people in West Virginia voted for Donald Trump because they fell for his bullshit. A lot of them said, I'm not voting for her because this is a part of a daggone theft. And the truth is, I voted for Donald Trump. Right. Worst mistake ever, but it didn't take me but 3 weeks ago. Wow, what a mistake. People are still holding on to that. I think a lot of people just don't want to admit it was a mistake.
Well, it's not even that, just that. Bernie had all these plans, and now all the people in the Democratic primary are trying to, use his plans, and Bernie was the original. And he was the one that was been saying that message for over 30-something, 40 years. You know what I mean?
See, the thing is, the problem with the Democratic Party in West Virginia is it's always been about this. Right. The reasons why the Democrats were in power for 88 years and lost power was because the Democrats sucked. They were no different than the GOP we have here in West Virginia. And that's exactly what it is. They only cared about themselves. Our great Democrats that we had here in southern West Virginia were the biggest crooks ever. Remember, you're talking to a guy that was struck in the back of the head with a pipe and had 8 bones broken in my face by Democrats.
In the primary, yeah.
So, that's right.
Right. Now, the thing is, and I want to move on to the teacher strikes because I know you were big into that, but to finish off that subject, the Democrats used to win West Virginia in presidential elections all the time. Then Gore lost it, and they lost it after that. Now, the Democrats, I feel, as you said, they don't have any truth tellers like you. You go up there and tell it like it is. People want it to hear. That's why a lot of people voted for Trump, because he told it like it is. Now, it was bullshit. He lied, but he went up there and told it like it is, and he was telling the truth. You go up there and tell it like it is. Bernie told it like it is. That's why they won.
These people would rather believe a lie than the truth. You know, they would rather believe that coal is going to come back and once again rule the world, right, when we know that it's not. And when you stand in front of them and say, look, we need to bring opportunities into West Virginia, like the Green New Deal, to provide opportunities for coal miners to transition from coal to green energy jobs.
Agreed.
But they don't want to do that because they want to continue making $100,000 a year as a coal miner. But the truth is that it's not going to happen. You know, I'm going to tell you, West Virginia for years has been told you've got to transition to other forms of energy. You have to. And West Virginia has basically given the middle finger and said, no, we're not going to. Well, now you've got, 49 other states out there that are basically saying, West Virginia, you've always basically given us the middle finger, and now they're pissed. So when there's a regime change, and it's going to happen, they're not going to go, well, now let's try to help West Virginia, transition. They're going to say, nope, we've told you off for the last 2 decades to get your heads out of your asses, and you won't listen. So now they're going to rip that plug out of the wall. And then your coal miners are going to go, I don't have no job. And the only thing we have in these parts are friggin' Walmart, McDonald's, and Wendy's. And oh, by the way, they overhire. They don't give you nothing more than 20 hours a week. And that means you get no benefits. So good luck with that.
Yeah. I remember you just made a video for TYT of saying it's the same thing about West Virginia's going to die once the coal dies. Just about 3 weeks ago. I watched that video.
We could do so much. How could, we got land around here that we've chopped the tops of the mountains off that could be great for wind, solar. How about rebuild facilities for our military? How come you have to daggone railroad a Bradley fighting vehicle from Fort Drum, New York, all the way to Utah to get worked on when you could send it right here? You don't think we got mechanics in West Virginia that could do something? How come we got plenty of opportunities in West Virginia where we could do things and we could bring businesses here, but nobody's ever wanted to get off of their lazy asses and bring stuff here.
Well, the last thing is, and then I want to get to that teachers strike, is that you look at Trump, and I mean, Hillary's an elitist, we all know that, but you look at Trump, he goes down to West Virginia, you don't give a shit about those people, you don't give a shit about the working people. Look at him, he's never worked a day in his life, he's been and TYT put out, and I'll end it with this, TYT put out a video with, there was this guy from Kentucky, he said, I'm from rural country, I'm a hard worker guy, we think Trump is a joke, but they had nobody else. Trump was saying all the bullshit. So,
but that's the thing. People around here would rather fall for the guy that lies to them and tells them what they want to hear. He come out here, put a coal miner's cap on, and he's working a shovel. His ass would look at a shovel and get a blister. He ain't there. He don't know how to work a shovel. That's where we're at.
All right, so let's talk about the teachers' strike in West Virginia. That was a big thing. We capped off a lot of teachers' strikes all over the country, from Kentucky to Los Angeles to other states had teachers' strikes all over the country. So you were big on that. You went on the Senate floor and really sparked the teachers after you said you went to a meeting and then you really went out there and gave them hell. Can you give us a brief synopsis for people that aren't really newsworthy about what went on the teachers' strike?
Well, basically, I spent 4 years in a classroom, and, every day when I was a ROTC instructor at Chapmanville Regional High School, I sit down with teachers during lunch, and it was always the same topics of conversation. The horrible benefits, the insurance plan was garbage, low pay, But, as a state senator, I'm listening to legislation that's being pushed that's going after tenure. Anytime you go after tenure, what you're saying is these teachers have been here a long time. We can't fire them, and they're not scared to tell us what right looks like. So we want to stop that. We want to tell them to shut their mouth, so we're going to remove tenure. So that's what that was. And, basically listening to teachers and things like that, I just decided I was going to stand up and let them know, you know what, guys, if we don't start listening to teachers and start pushing and stop pushing this bullshit. There was a thing called Go 365 that they were pushing in West Virginia. And what this was every teacher had to, by like May, had to purchase their own iPhone and a Fitbit. And if they didn't purchase them by May, they were going to get fined. Well, you know, I don't know how many teachers, when you're 49th in the nation in terms of pay, can just walk out and buy them a brand new iPhone 10 and a Fitbit. But you have until this date to purchase it or you get fined. Now, when you get it, you have to also give us information like your waist size, like your weight and things like that. And oh, by the way, if you lose 10 pounds, here's a $25 gift card to Walmart. But if you gain 5 pounds or you put an inch on your hip, your premiums go up. This was an absolute, it was against, you know, people's privacy, and it was just absolute bullshit. And it was it. The teachers were done. So, you know, I got up and I gave that speech, and I had no idea that after I gave that speech, it was going to catch fire, and I was going to get a phone call from Mingo County that said, we need you to come to Mingo County tonight. We're having a meeting, and we're going to actually talk about if we're going to strike. And I went to that meeting, and I'm telling you right now, it was a packed house, and everybody was fired up. And there was a man that was a United Mine Workers of America retiree. And let me tell you something. If you want to talk about strikes, UMWA are the people to talk to, because they have actually absolutely shed blood on strikes. And he stood up and he said, hey, everybody, if you're going to do this, you better not back down. You better stand toe-to-toe, and you don't give in for nothing. And you know what? They were fired up, and I looked around and I said, they're ready. And you know what? Literally, that was it. Mingo County was the first to go out. And it was like Mingo County went out, then all of a sudden it was like 5 more went out immediately when Mingo County went out. Next thing you know, in a couple of days, 55 strong across the state.
Every county, right. And you guys made a difference, because they did get a lot more. Actually, wasn't it true, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, was they came in with a plan, and the plan was shit, and the teachers didn't give up, and they finally gave them what they wanted. Is that correct?
We got to where it was like on day 7 or 8, they come in with this plan that was 4%. Teachers wanted 5.
Right.
They said 4%, and a lot of people were saying, well, we're going to go ahead and take 4%. But the majority said, nope, hell no, 5. And they stayed out. So that was the thing. You know, that was one of the things that was most inspiring, is that the teachers, when they said this is what we want, they would not be denied. And I'm going to tell you right now, it wouldn't surprise me now that in West Virginia they push this charter school bullshit. It wouldn't surprise me as in August when everybody goes back to school, the teachers don't. And I hope they strike again. You know, we've got dirty politicians in this daggone state. We had the Koch brothers in the capital of Charleston, you know. And let me tell you something. 88% of the people in West Virginia said no to charter schools, and they just force-fed them to us. So that's the type of leadership that we have in the state of West Virginia, you know. But hey, they all like Trump.
Well, what you said basically about, you know, people accepting the little wages and stuff like that, 4% instead of 5%. I'm here in Orlando, Florida. We just had the thing where Bernie was pushing Disney to up to $15 an hour. There was people in Disney that was saying, we'll take 10 cents raise every year. We'll take 50 cents. And then there was the people, like you said, that was saying, hell no, we're not going to take 10 cents or 50 cents. We're going to fight. And they finally did fight to get 15, and they passed it. And these are people that are against the union that are saying this shit. These are people that are against Bernie Sanders. This guy's helping you to get a better wage, to make you better off, to make the whole country better off. And these people want 10, 15 cents a year. Give me a break.
Look, I fought. I stood with those teachers. You know, they graded every single legislator. I was the only senator that got an A+ rating from the teachers. Okay? The teachers didn't even support me when I ran for Congress.
That's disgraceful.
But it is what it is. It is what it is. You know?
I got a couple more questions to finish off on education. Then I want to hit the opioid crisis, because I know that's hit West Virginia really hard. So for the education system, you as being a teacher, and I'm to say this out loud, I am a teacher here in Florida, and they teach the teachers like crap down here. They just want to start you out 30 grand, and they want to throw you in with the low pay, huge classroom sizes, no incentives. Anyway, regardless, and the tough kids. So with that, Do you have any ideas of how to fix the education system as far as if you was to go back into office or if you were to win that congressional race?
Well, I think that we need to absolutely start. We need to start respecting our educators and school service personnel. And don't you ever forget school service personnel. Don't ever forget those bus drivers, those special needs aides, the custodians, and the cooks. They make the best meals some of these kids get. Period. So you know what?
Some of the only meals they get.
That's right. You know what? We need to start treating teachers and school service personnel with far more respect. You know, it amazes me how you talk to a lawyer, you talk to a doctor, and you say, how come you get so much pay? And the first thing they say is, well, I merit that pay because of the education that I have. Well, then why do we let a teacher that has a master's plus 45 or 60, they're going to live in poverty? Unacceptable. Let's start paying teachers for what their value, and their value is you cannot make a doctor without a teacher. You cannot make a lawyer without a teacher. So let's start treating our teachers with the utmost respect and start paying them what they deserve. You know, and let me tell you something. If you do that, people gotta understand. You know, it's in every profession. If you know, we got a lot of people say that there's a lot of bad police officers out there. Well, pay them better, because the truth is when you pay people better, you get a different caliber of people that go after those jobs. Instead of the guy that just wants to be a bully that couldn't daggone make it through high school out there trying to become a cop, you start raising the pay. You get that person that just graduated with a bachelor's degree from criminal justice that now wants to be a police officer, and you're going to pay them well. So then you're going to have an opportunity to have a police officer that's going to be great. Same thing with the teacher. You know what? You're going to have teachers that are going to be fighting for jobs because it's great pay and they get great benefits and they already get great vacation. So you know what? Let's do that. And then you have people competing. Then you have people that can go in there and they can absolutely get that respect that they deserve in those classrooms, and they can educate our kids better.
Right. I totally agree. And people work harder and you will get better qualified teachers, as you said.
Fact.
No-brainer. So go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Ojeda.
My thing is, we're at the point now where, our kids are being taught math, English, science, and Spanish by the assistant to the assistant wrestling coach, because the people that are certified in those areas have left, especially West Virginia. And that's a fact.
Orange County, where Orlando is, where Disney World is, where Trump had his big mega rally to re-announce his campaign, 4,000 teachers they needed. And they were under before the school year started this year. So they had 4,000 people with kids without teachers. They were either taught by substitute or another teacher that was teaching another class. It's a joke. So, but that's, we'll move on to other stuff. So to fix the opioid crisis all over the country, but it's really huge. Where I'm originally from in Rhode Island, New Hampshire, that area, but especially in places that are like West Virginia.
I knew you was not from Orlando, Florida. I said, this dude's from New York, man.
I'm a little Italian guy from Rhode Island, and I'm from the Northeast and stuff, and that's why I'm a Bernie's guy. But I'm not just because of that, just because I like him because of his policies. But we see in New Hampshire and West Virginia and other states all over the U.S. suffering from that opioid crisis. Tell us about how people are suffering in West Virginia and how we can fix it. I know it's a lot. I hear people that are in my family that are veterans, and they go to the VA or other doctors, and they push these opioids on them, and they go to doctors. They keep pushing it.
Military does it too. Here's the thing. Number one, you know what? We need to hold Big Pharma accountable. They know for a fact that they've got medicine out there that is absolutely addictive, that has ripped apart our communities, it has filled up our daggone graveyards. West Virginia, southern West Virginia, we were the lab rats that they use. They come down here to these parts here and they threw that stuff like Tic Tacs at our people. There's not one single family that has been left out of this. Everybody in these places. Hell, when I was running for daggone Congress, my communications director lived with both her aunt and uncle because her parents were lost to the opioid epidemic. My political director lost both his parents to overdose. My finance director found his brother dead with a syringe sticking out of his arm and lost a nephew while we were in the campaign. Everybody's been affected. But the problem is that Big Pharma has controlled everything. The leaders of Big Pharma should face justice for what they've done to this country. They shouldn't be made to pay. We know that they have sprinkled their opioids everywhere. They should be responsible right now with funding a rehabilitation center in every community across this country, and they need to pay every single dime of that. Fact, they have murdered our people. We lost more people in the last 2 years than all the lives lost during the Vietnam War. And what? What have we done? Nothing. Because Big Pharma has lobbyists that go into these capitals and they grease the pockets at the state level and the national level, and they secure their protection. When I pushed the medical cannabis bill in West Virginia, which made West Virginia the 29th state to become legal for medical cannabis, a non-addictive form of pain management, let me tell you something. They were down in West Virginia pushing to gut my bill because I wanted to allow people that got the medical cannabis card the ability to grow 4 mature and 4 seedling plants. And they said, Big Pharma don't like that. I was told by the Health and Human Resources Committee chairman that the reason why he wasn't running my bill was because Big Pharma don't like it. And he was a frickin' doctor. Wow. Dr. Takubo, state senator from Charleston, West Virginia. And he's going to look me in the face and tell me Big Pharma don't like it. I walked over and I grabbed that microphone and I started ripping everybody a new ass. You know, let me tell you something. The opioid epidemic is destroying this country, and we are allowing to let it destroy this country because the people at the top don't care, because it's just basically thinning the ranks out from the poor and those that are, you know, where they think is just the poor. But the truth is how many coal miners get hurt on the job and end up becoming addicted to opioids? How many veterans that have been addicted to drugs because they got hurt in combat, and then the VA or the medical gives them these drugs and then kicks them out because 2 months later they cut them off completely and then say, all right, now you got to go back to work. And then they're addicted, so they go find ways to take care of their need, and then they fail a drug test and we remove their GI Bill, we kick them out with no benefits, and we kick them out to the streets. Let me tell you something. This is destroying this country, and it's a big part because of the money. That's what it is.
Right. I totally agree. You got, and not even that. You got, and because of the money, and that's why we need to get campaign finance reform in check. Absolutely. But not even that. You got weak Democrats. You got weak Republicans, like the woman that you ran against. There was a multimillionaire. She's up there. Say she won't debate you. She doesn't want to campaign, and it's a joke just because she's got an R behind her name.
Let me say this. You know, and this is what's really sad is just recently in West Virginia, Melania Trump come here with Carol Miller.
Yeah, Joe Manchin was there too.
Joe Manchin, Jim Justice, the governor, and Shelley Moore Capito. Well, here's the thing. First and foremost, Carol Miller did everything in her power to gut my bill, which made my bill practically nothing more than a piece of paper. We're only legal for medical cannabis in paper alone. Nothing you can't buy, you can't grow, you can't prescribe, period. So Carol Miller was a part of that. So she don't give a shit about the opioid epidemic. She did everything she could to make sure that Big Pharma was taken care of. Shelley Moore Capito has been a U.S. Senator now for 12 years. What the hell has she ever done for the opioid epidemic in West Virginia? Not a damn thing has she done. But now, because everybody's talking opioids, now all of a sudden Shelley Moore Capito is going to step up to the plate and get shit done. Bullshit. Okay?
Why weren't they meeting with real West Virginians, though? They were just talking amongst themselves. They didn't meet any people from the real country.
Exactly. But then you got Jim Justice, who absolutely defunded the medical cannabis board that technically, if they would have kept it in place, we would have issued the medical cannabis cards about a month ago in West Virginia. So he don't give a shit about the opioid epidemic. And then Joe Manchin is pandering. He's trying right now. Joe Manchin's thinking about running for governor. And the bad part about this is now Joe Manchin's trying to act like I'm Trump light. I'm like good buddies with Trump. Guess what? Stop that bullshit. You know what? Trump is a piece of trash. He's a horrible person. He's racist. He's sexist. You know, anybody that brags about grabbing a woman by the you-know-what, anybody that brags about being able to walk into a beauty pageant and see the girls changing, oh, by the way, it's a teenage beauty pageant, is nothing more than a perv. You know, and that's what we got. And these people are not trying to act like they're Trump-like. You know, they're going, Amy McGrath. Amy McGrath in Kentucky might as well just shot herself in the daggone foot because she decided on day 2 after her announcement she was going to try to come out like, hey, I'm kind of like, you know, the cool side of Trump. Get out of my face. You're going to give this shit to daggone Mitch McConnell. You don't need to be Trump's buddy to daggone run against Mitch McConnell. You call his ass out for his horrible, corrupt, greedy, worthless ass ways. Do that. You know, you don't need to daggone kiss Trump's ass to beat Matt Bevin. The most garbage governor in the country?
He didn't help teachers. He was trying to screw teachers. He was saying
teachers, unions, everybody. Matt Bevin's the worst governor in the daggone country, and that's hard coming from me because Jim Justice is my governor. You know, I mean, personally, I think they're both crap. But you know what, Matt Bevin's worse.
Yeah. So let me go into the cannabis thing. Now, I was reading something before we got into the interview. Apparently, they're slow walking it. Is that what you were talking about? That when you said, for instance, that they're not allowing them to sell anything, it's just like a paper bill now. Is that what they're doing? As far as
It's a paper bill. It's a paper bill. 2 years later, they continue to push jack shit. You know, it amazes me how many people talk about, you know, a fight for, you know, let me tell you something. Submitting a bill doesn't mean you're fighting for something. It just means you submit a bill. If you're not willing to stand up and give floor speeches and bust people's asses out, if you're not willing to go talk to the committee chairman and rip them a new one and go on social media, do live videos and rip those people, you ain't doing nothing but daggone, you're just talk. I'm so sick and tired of all these people around here talking about, you know, how they've been fighting for daggone marijuana and they ain't done shit. I got there my first session and got marijuana passed. You know why? Because I ripped everybody a new one. I called them out in front of everybody. I had the phone lines going nonstop and the computers going nonstop. Because if I believe in something, I'll fight for it. And that's the problem. We got these people that act like they want to do something and they ain't fighting for shit. They ain't fighting for. Everybody wants to act like during the teacher strike. You know, you had a lot of people wanting to act like they were fighting for the teachers. They never had the balls to stand up and do what I did and say what I did. But once I said it and the teachers started showing up, then all of a sudden everybody was like, yeah, we're with the teachers. You know what? Hey, friggin' lead. Lead, it amazes me. You know, I come from a place where leaders daggone locked and loaded and went outside the wire. You know, and friggin' around here, leaders, man, it's a different world, man.
I agree. We see this. I see the same stuff in Florida that you do in West Virginia. So let me go into what made you run for Congress. You were a state senator, and you were an effective state senator, and you did the cannabis thing. You've been fighting for, you know, for people that with the opioid crisis. So what made you run for Congress against Carol Miller?
Well, number one, the teacher strike and marijuana. And the reason why is because, you know, basically, I got marijuana passed in my first legislative session, which they said was impossible to do. This nobody gets anything passed in the first session. Well, I got the most controversial bill passed ever in West Virginia in my first session.
Well, so I think they were afraid of you, Mr. Ojeda, and I think they still are.
And that's fine with me. Well, the next year, you know, they blamed me for the teacher strike. So what they said after the teacher strike was that anything that had Richard Ojeda's name on it would die. They would not even let it even hit a committee floor. So I can sit in that seat and basically have a muzzle put on my mouth. Now I can stand up and I can scream, but if I put my name on any bills, nobody wants me to even sign on as a co-sponsor of a bill because look, OJ, man, we love you, brother, but this could kill this bill. So what am I doing? So I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go over their head. I'm going to run for Congress. And then I'm going to make noise. You know, me, if I would have run for Congress, I would be in right now Washington, D.C. screaming about a one-level pay for teachers across the board. And I don't mean no bottom-level pay. I'm saying our teachers deserve to all be paid starting salary at this level. And it's going to be a damn good level.
If you were in Congress, you would be – they hate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You would be way above her. They would hate you way worse.
Let me tell you something. I'd be fighting for teachers on a national level that would make people go, oh, my gosh. But let me tell you something. We'd have 50 friggin' state strong standing teachers out there. And they deserve it. Because you know what? How about doing that? We should do that. Starting level for teachers, all start out at this level. And it's a damn good level that makes people want to go to college and become a teacher. You know, those are the things that I would be out there pushing for. Some of the, you know, everybody's talking about free education. Look, I support that. But let me tell you something. At a minimum, looking at certain jobs, I would say, you know what? If you're going to be a teacher and you're going to go get your college and become an educator, free. Certain jobs in this country that we know are important, that will always be jobs of the future, that should be free education. Boom. That's the kind of stuff I'd be pushing.
So what happened in that race? Because that was a 40-point or 50-point Trump district. You got it down pretty far. At some polls you were ahead. Some polls it was 3.
Well, there's a lot of things that happened during that race. I was up at one point 11 points right before the election.
Right.
Of course, Donald Trump got word that I was getting ready to win the 3rd congressional district, which was the district that was the reddest in America that voted for him. It was #1. So Donald Trump kind of thought, well, you know what? If I lose that district, it's going to be a real slap in my face. So Donald Trump decided to come down here. And he started campaigning against me, called me a stone cold crazy wacko. Right. Carol Miller did some very underhanded tactics. Number one, she wouldn't talk to him. She wouldn't debate me. She wouldn't answer me questions from the media. And I will tell you that the day after the race was over, I went to Washington, D.C., and I was on the show called The Hill Rising. And there was a woman that was there that actually works for the Republican Party. And she was the one that basically was Carol Miller's handler. And she came up to me and she told me, she said, I just want you to know that I was the one that basically worked with Carol Miller, and told me that Carol Miller was the dumbest candidate she had ever worked with in her life. And they specifically kept Carol Miller out of the eye of the public because they knew that if she spoke, people would be like, I didn't vote for that woman. But the thing is they used a lot of underhanded tactics. I will tell you that there's some stuff that's going to come out on the national. It's going to come out in the news very soon. Because some things were done very illegal against me that tried to smear my name. I was basically swift boated with untruths. But that's the kind of stuff that happened. Veterans didn't stand up and support me. They all jumped on the bandwagon because a lot of them were Republicans, and they just absolutely, if you don't like Richard Ojeda, you can dislike me. Right. But to go after my 24 years of military service and they did things like they took a picture of me in my dress blues with my ribbons, and they blurred my ribbons, and they put an arrow towards my ribbons and said, look, he's wearing ribbons that were authorized and given during the Vietnam War. He wasn't old enough. So, but the thing is they pointed at a ribbon and they said I was wearing the Gallantry Cross, which was a red and yellow ribbon. Well, on the left side of my ribbon rack, I also have a red and yellow ribbon. Right. It's the national defense that you get. And everybody in the military today got one for the global war on terrorism. And I also got one for Desert Storm. So I have it. But see, they used those type of, illegal, not illegal because they just lied. But, they did that and they got away with it. Carol Miller had a person on one of her commercials that, was going after me, and he wears the biggest racist tattoo on his arm. She just gave a speech about how she's against white supremacy. Of course, she read it verbatim, but she's got a guy that's going against me, talking crap about me on her commercial that has a noose. And if you research the noose tattoo, you'll know exactly what that means. Right. He's a racist. That's the kind of stuff that I had to deal with. And in the end, I lost.
So you think that they basically, when you talk about the military record now, whether you like him or not, or thought he was a good candidate, what they did to John Kerry with the switch voting.
They did the same thing. Same thing they did to me. They brought people. We had one guy got up there and said, Richard Ojeda's walking on the graves of the dead. That guy got kicked out of the military because he couldn't pass a daggone PT test. And make no mistake about it, I know exactly where he spent He spent 6 months. And I respect anybody's service who serves in the military, but make no mistake about it. There's a big difference between what certain people do in military and other people do. There's a big difference what certain people do in combat and what other people do. You understand?
Well, she called Trump in there, and I believe that she's got some dealings with Trump in the past because she's a multimillionaire herself.
She's a multimillionaire. Let me tell you something. For 12 years as a delegate, the only thing she ever does is sing happy birthday every year on the floor, and then she takes the request for the food for the Speaker of the House's dinner. All right, everyone, there's going to be filet mignon this year. Give me your orders. That's what she does. And oh, by the way, she did try to push a bill that made West Virginia the Bible, the state book, which is nothing more than saying, look, everybody, I'm so religious, okay? And then she also tried to push a bill that said no Sharia law in West Virginia because we got the Taliban all up around these mountains.
And then she had Trump over there. Trump saying, Ojeda, playing some bullshit race card.
Well, they did that, and oh, by the way, and the sad part about it is it was genius because you know what the number one issue during that time when he came down here and said Ojeda, you know what the number one issue was in the state of West Virginia? the caravan. You know, like these people around here are worried about people from Guatemala coming here. You know, they're not going to take your jobs. Half of you don't have jobs.
Right, that's true. So it was a joke, but he's always got he's a hell of a salesman. I got to give him that. But anyway, the last question I have for you, Mr. Ojeda, I appreciate your time, is you ran for president. Why did you drop out? And just for that, besides that, because we need people like you in Congress, in the as president, or whatever it may be, in the Senate. We have the only person feel like can win West Virginia is somebody like Bernie Sanders, another military person like Tulsi Gabbard, who's also been in the military and fought. Who do you believe has the best chance of turning West Virginia blue?
Well, you know, I think Elizabeth Warren. I think Bernie Sanders. You know, I think a lot of people here still, you know, believe in their message. You know, I think Tulsi Gabbard is very likable. I think Andrew Yang. A lot of people are not paying attention to Andrew Yang, but Andrew Yang needs to get in there and fight more. He needs more than 3 minutes. And if they don't give you if they're only going to give you 3 minutes,
microphones off.
Then you need to daggone stand up and start making some noise, or you're going to lose. But you know, there's a lot of good people out there with good messages. Me, you know, when I ran for president, you know. At first, I was on the Morning Joe, Meet the Press, State of the Union. It was great. Chuck Todd, Jake Tapper, all these guys. It was a great interviews. They went very well. You know, I mean, when I said the knuckle up piece, I mean, that went viral like making shirts with that stuff. But, you know, the downside of it is that weeks later, they still wasn't even listening to me as a candidate. You know, I never heard not one single news media station say presidential candidate Richard Ojeda until Chuck Todd said presidential candidate Richard Ojeda suspended his race today. That was it. You're not going to list me as a candidate when I'm on your show, and it's a shame. And oh, by the way, you know, I deserve to have a voice. But when I suspended my race, immediately the Starbucks guy said, I'm running for president. And what does CNN do? CNN said, well, let's give you an hour-long town hall. Where's my hour-long town hall? Because make no mistake about it, if I'd have been given an hour-long town hall, I would have opened some friggin' eyes in this country. If I'd have been on that debate stage, make no mistake about it, people would have been talking about me more than anybody, because I'll tell you right now, don't you dare tell me the number one issue is climate change. When you take more money from big energy than anybody, you're not going to do anything to bring about climate change and fix the issues with climate change, because you're going to get in there and you're going to tap dance and go, well, we're working, but, you know, we're still, it's going to take some time. Bullshit. You're taking money from big energy, and that's why you're not actually pushing forward for a Green New Deal. You're not going to fight for a Green New Deal because Big Pharma agrees with your pockets. You're not going to fight the opioid epidemic when you take more money from Big Pharma. And that's easy to look at. You can look at all those people up there and go, how come you've taken $10 million from Big Pharma? You're not going to fight the opioid epidemic. You're going to do the same bullshit everybody else does and go, well, guys, you know, there's a lot of issues here, but, you know, it's going to take some time. Bullshit. Hold these people responsible. Put their asses in friggin' underneath the jail. And that's how we fix this stuff. But that's what I would have done. But I had to drop out because, you know what, I got $1,000 from a handicapped woman from San Francisco, California. And I started realizing, you know what, I'm getting donations. And all my money pretty much is small dollar donations, not from any corporations or anything. I don't take no corporate PAC money, but I'm getting money from people. And you know, when I look at this and I go, this is a handicapped woman from San Francisco. And, you know, I'm not going to get the opportunity to represent her. Because why? Because I'm not even being recognized in the media. Because I don't have wealth. I don't have already political power. So therefore, I get nothing. And you know what? That's a shame. That's what they're doing to Tulsi Gabbard right now. You know, they're pushing people like Tulsi Gabbard to the side. They don't want nobody to hear much about Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang and them, because they want the certain key folks. And half these people that are running for president need to get their heads out of their asses. Stop. You know what? Beto should probably go after that other Senate seat that he could probably win and turn it blue. You know, some of those other people could probably hold on to their blue seats. You know, don't give up your seat because you want to be a daggone president when you know for a fact right now they're not going to give you a shot.
Well, two things. First of all, if they gave you an hour platform, like you said, you would open up a lot of people's eyes, and you're fighting for a lot of what the American people wants, but not what Jake Tapper and Chuck Todd and the media Mongols over in Comcast and AT&T want. So they don't want to give you an hour. So that's the first thing. Second thing is they're doing the same thing what you're doing, like you said, to Bernie and Tulsi and Andrew Yang and all those people, because they don't want those progressive issues. They want to keep it the same. Just like Joe Biden went over to Wall Street. He said nothing will change if he gets in. They don't want that, these people, like you said, you are the people.
Look at Pelosi. 87% of the Democrats say Medicare for all. 57% Republicans say Medicare for all. Nancy Pelosi says, "Don't worry about it, there, medical folks. We're not going to push for Medicare for all." Well, then do your job, Nancy Pelosi. Your job is to represent the people. If that many people say they want it, then that tells me that there's an overwhelming support for it. So you need to push it. But no, because of this.
That's right. So my last question for you, and I appreciate you giving me the time. You've been great. We ever run for office again, we need true American patriots, not just on the battlefield, but in the Congress, in the Senate, in the presidency. Like I said, we need people that are going to stand up and fight, not some people that are going to come out with these Kamala Harris for the people. Then she's meeting with Wall Street doing fundraisers. Joe Biden's going up to Wall Street saying, oh, nothing will ever change. And these other clowns on stage, I feel like there was all these people running for president. Tom Steyer now is running. All these people are running for president, 28 people, because they're trying to screw Bernie. They're trying to screw Tulsi and Andrew Yang. They don't want those people in because they're going to go and get the people behind them, like you have the people behind you and your race. So we need people like you to run. Will you run for anything again? Run for Senate against Shelley Capino. I know that seat is coming up.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I'm trying to build up my recognition. If you could share with all the people that follow you to go to my Facebook page, share my Facebook page with them. I'm trying to build up my Twitter account. I want to start being able to let people know exactly where I stand. If I run for anything, it will only be either against Shelley Moore Capito or Carol Miller. Right. I'm really hesitant to run against Carol Miller because it's a 3rd congressional district. And once again, these people, if Trump comes out here and says he wants Carol, these people will vote for Carol, and that's a sad thing. But that's how come nobody in the 3rd congressional district has any damn thing. That's why they're poor, and that's why they're going to remain poor. I believe that I could do well against Shelley Moore Capito in the northern part of the state, in the central part of the state. If I got the people that supported me in the southern part of the state support me again, I think I could beat Shelley Moore Capito. But then again, will I get the support from the Democratic Party? Does people like Chuck Schumer and them want somebody like Richard Ojeda up there that's willing to stand up and say, let me tell you something, I don't give a shit who you are. I will stand on tables and light people's asses up. Because nobody should go to Washington, D.C. to daggone try to go up there and be buddies with people. You should go up there and try to fight for your people, because there's a shit ton of stuff down here in West Virginia that we need to fight for. The opioid epidemic, the lack of jobs that we have, the fact that our people have been treated like garbage for decades, for many decades, and we've got nothing in return because we're the most drug abused area, because we're the most poverty stricken. Something's got to change. And I would go to Washington, D.C., and I would light fires under these issues.
Great.
Like it, tough shit.
They don't want you. Schumer don't want you. That's why they gave $2.3 million in the first day. Amy McGrath raved, and she's a patriot and a veteran and stuff like that. But she's Trump light. As she said, she came out, they want Trump light in West Virginia. They don't want you.
She's not really Trump light, but she's just playing like she's Trump light. But people see that shit and go, that's garbage. Look, I am who I am. Once again, if you don't like it, tough shit. I don't care. I'm going to tell you what I believe. And if you don't like it, you can go elsewhere. But at least when you get me, you know what you're going to get.
I know I just said last question, but this is the real last question. Do you think that Bernie, if he gets the nomination, because he won those 55 counties in West Virginia last time, can beat and persuade some of these Trump voters? Because I feel like a lot of people, some of the people that voted for Bernie did vote for Trump. Do you think he could win West Virginia?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Wow.
Without a doubt. The Republicans will vote for, let me tell you something, every day more Republicans are waking up and saying, you know what, Trump's not my guy. Bernie Sanders could still come here and win all 55 counties.
Wow. Okay. Mr. Ojeda, I appreciate your service. I appreciate you. Keep fighting. And everybody that's listening, this is a true American patriot, not just on the battlefield, but in the halls of the West Virginia State House, and when he fought for us in Congress. Oh, I mean, in the congressional race, because he was fighting not just for West Virginia, you were fighting for everybody in the country. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking a lot of time for this. Please share this video. Please like this video. Please subscribe to this podcast. We need true American patriots such as yourself. And I'm not just bullshitting you. I'm telling you the truth. We need true people like you in Congress and in the Senate. And hopefully you do, because that would be big if you got in the Senate or in the House from District 3 or in the Senate against Shelley Capino. I appreciate you, Mr. Ojeda. Hey,
thank you very much, man. You give me a yell anytime, and I'll be more than happy to come back on your show.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.